In Haines, Alaska, Parker Schnabel, a young gold miner, was born to his grandfather, John Schnabel. John Schnabel was the miner's grandfather. His experience taught him the importance of putting in a lot of effort and the results of each gold nugget that he extracted from the ground. By the time he was 16 years old, he had taken over the family firm and started making deals with prominent figures in the mining industry, such as Tony Beets. He also had the ability to get land leases and demonstrate his capabilities on national television. He had amassed more than $13 million worth of gold by the time he was 25 years old. On the other hand, the high expense of pursuing gold was accompanied by the costs that were associated with operating a mining operation. The equipment that his team had to transport was so expensive that it might be compared to the price of some people's homes. These machines required continual maintenance, operators with specialized skills, and a substantial amount of gasoline. Another mound of cash was labor of some kind. When he made the decision to invest in Dominion Creek, he put $15 million into that enterprise in the hopes of receiving a return that would propel his career to the next level. The celebrity that comes with being on reality television comes with a number of benefits, including admirers, public recognition, and a consistent revenue stream that is not necessarily dependent on the price of gold. On the other hand, it comes with a spotlight that has the potential to make every failure feel a little bit more painful. As a result of Parker's investigation, he discovered that when the cameras are on, people are waiting for errors, which are what keep reality television going. However, despite the fact that his crew toiled relentlessly and put in 75-hour weeks, the weight of leadership was firmly on his shoulders. It wasn't simply that they were employees, they were also the ones who knew him when he was at his worst and in the gutter. Not only did he owe them a wage, but he also believed that this business could continue to function. His personal life was falling apart in addition to the strain that was being placed on his finances. It was during the 7th season of Gold Rush that viewers had the opportunity to become acquainted with Ashley Ewell, an Australian veterinarian nurse. He had been in a relationship with her. The termination of their relationship in the year 2017 left him obviously upset, and the fact that he was emotionally vulnerable in that way does not make mining any different. In the moment that Parker disclosed that he had declared bankruptcy, he accepted defeat, so revealing a level of betrayal that extended beyond monetary considerations.
Walk away.
Yeah, walk away.
I'm gonna go get a thermos.
Is there some gold here?
Yeah, we're gonna waste.
The stark fact that gold mining is unpredictable, hazardous, and may even be downright unpleasant is the subject of this narrative. The devastating disappointment that comes when you pour all you have, time, money, and sweat, into the land and the earth decides to keep its treasures buried is there. The joy of a good haul and the exhilaration of seeing numbers go up are only two examples of the emotions that can be experienced. In his time working in the mining sector, gold miner Parker Schnabel has seen a great deal of failure and difficulty in terms of his finances. In the gold mining industry, the highs are powerful, but the lows cause you to rethink everything, from the decisions you make in business to the relationships you have. Although fame can magnify achievement, it also has the potential to make defeat more isolated. Downsizing is not just about cutting costs. It is also about telling individuals who have put their trust in you that they do not have a job anymore. Parker may have to start making difficult decisions regarding his finances in order to do this. Dominion Creek presents yet another obstacle, which is the looming question of whether or not he will be able to keep things functional. In addition to the need for additional people, fuel, and equipment, the cash flow is beginning to dry up. There have been times when Parker's presence on social media has been a double-edged sword. While social media platforms like as Instagram and Twitter allow him to maintain his connection with his supporters, they also provide the general public with a front-row seat to his shortcomings. It may be challenging to deal with this situation when he is attempting to maintain a positive mood for himself and his staff. The bond that Parker has with his family, and in especially the teachings that he has learned from his grandfather, John Schnabel, is at the center of everything that is going on here.
Oh, you're gonna wheel me up?
Yeah.
Okay, anytime.
Parker has been able to persevere despite the fact that everything else appeared to be coming apart, because he learnt from him the qualities of hard work, tenacity, and perseverance. However, Even these lessons do not necessarily make it easier to accept the hard realities of failure after they have been experienced. The mining of gold is not just about gold. It is also about hope, danger, and the belief that there is something greater waiting for you if you dig deep enough. In spite of the fact that Parker has spent the most of his life believing in that concept, he is suddenly confronted with the opposite side of the coin. When there is no gold at the bottom of the pan, what are the things that happen? Parker is not the first miner to suffer a significant loss, and it is highly unlikely that he will be the last. The fact that Parker is accomplishing all of this while millions of people are watching is what makes him stand out from the crowd. All of the mistakes and failures that have occurred are now available for the general world to view. It won't be simple for Parker to take the next step. It is difficult to make a living in mining, and the financial losses he has sustained are significant. However, it is possible that there is something to be said about the manner in which he continues to get up, even when circumstances appear to be dire. When it comes to gold mining, tenacity is just as important as luck, and Parker possesses both of these qualities in plenty. Is that sufficient to have a positive impact on the situation? Time is the only thing that can tell. A Dutch gold miner, upon discovering that his stationary dredges were not going to get him to his aim, made the decision to concentrate on an abandoned trommel machine that had been constructed by a renegade miner several decades earlier. This is the story that centers around the Dutch gold miner. As opposed to transporting material to a predetermined spot, the trommel provided mobility and the freedom to move with pay soil. In order to return to base camp, the miner was required to disassemble and transport the trommel, which resulted in a daily expenditure of more than $60,000. The steep terrain and boat voyage made the journey challenging. One truck had a damaged tire and twisted rim, but the miner was unharmed. The crew worked hard to disassemble and transfer the trommel, moving the 20-ton drum onto a military tank transporter despite adverse conditions. During the trip, the truck got bogged in the mud and needed a backhoe loader to release it. The mining boss was pleased when they returned the trommel to camp after 3 days. The mobile trommel appeared efficient and flexible since it could handle massive amounts of material faster than anything else the digger had employed. As gold prices were at an all-time high, the miner relied on the trommel. The mining operator always thought long-term and took risks, and the trommel was a future investment. It helped him keep his business going despite all the challenges.
Pipeline to see what happens.
The mining veteran had previously spent over $1 million on a custom excavator to dig 9,000 ounces of gold. His prosperity came from smart investments and taking chances that others wouldn't. The Dutch miner was known for his tough management style, which was not always well appreciated. After throwing gasoline into a dredge pond and lighting it on fire, he was criticized and fined for environmental infractions. His harsh treatment of employees, especially during failures, often irritated them. Safety and the insistence on correcting mistakes created a high-pressure workplace. Living on a reality show made things harder. The prospector was scrutinized by the public because his every move was broadcast. The risk-taker knew his actions would have consequences, whether they violated environmental laws or mistreated his crew. However, he remained true to himself, took risks, took responsibility for his actions, and handled criticism. In the mining veteran's ongoing struggle to remain gold game leader, the trommel was just another episode. The risk-taker had always gambled, and this time it paid off. Mechanical problems and tough terrain plagued Yukon mining. However, his determination was unwavering. It was a gamble, but the trommel helped him meet his output goals and reaffirm his purpose in life.
I just get a feeling there's more gold here. The way this material is piled up in here, I think the best stuff that there is could be at this corner.
The highly entertaining Gold Rush is all cutthroat gold mining and determination by some of the best miners in the industry. The compelling series takes us to see how Rick Ness has struggled to bounce back and take hold of his business, but things are off to a rough start. However, with Buzz on the scene and working with Rick, things may take a turn for the better for both men. Buzz Legault is driving a rock truck with great skill, but it isn't at the side of his longtime boss, Fred. Instead, He is driving through an unknown road when suddenly something unexpected stops his truck's movement. He responds quickly to this malfunction and begins pulling over and exiting the vehicle to search for the reason behind his unwanted delay. As Buzz examines the rock truck, he first has the suspicion that something was wrong with the tires. As he walks around the truck, he mutters to himself in annoyance and explains how much he dreads to think something could be wrong with the rock truck's transmission. If the transmission is no longer working, the Ness crew can kiss any ideas of using the ancient rock truck for their work goodbye. It is humbling to see how even Buzz, with all his skill and knowledge of this equipment, is not arrogant or uncaring when faced with the need to fix what's wrong with this dozer. Buzz is fearless as he crouches under the rock truck and examines the undercarriage carefully for the reason of its error. His careful examinations soon pay off when he notices that a couple of joints holding the drive shaft in place has been shorn off. The hard terrain and dangerous Alaskan paths can sometimes damage the vehicles with the rough environment and impact jarring the delicate parts of the machine. This is a huge issue because if Buzz cannot fix this, he will be completely out of a job. Not to mention how Rick will lose out on a ton of money if he isn't able to get back to sluicing gold. When someone's livelihood depends on their tools, this kind of error can be devastating. This entire ordeal has been extremely frustrating for Buzz since he has just finished fixing this problem with this rock truck, and now he has to readdress the problem for a second time. This is the downside of working with out-of-date machines.
It blew up pretty hard. You can see right here. I can put my hand inside the motor. And here's what's left of our piston. It exploded.
They constantly require maintenance that is time-consuming and expensive. Of course, the bright side of this situation is that Buzz knows exactly what to do to fix it. He explains that if the drive shaft is not connected to the rear end, then the truck will not move. His first challenge is to get his hands on the necessary parts and put everything back together. A time-consuming task when the team is under a lot of time constraints this gold mining season. Another issue with fixing this recurring problem is that it's a two-man job, meaning the necessity of pulling someone else away from their work. Of course, when one person in the chain is affected, so are the rest of the crew. This will only set them all back even more, cutting into the little time they have to mine the gold needed for the season. For this reason, Buzz decides to ask the camp's cook for help. Here we meet Travis, who is seen picking up some busted U-bolts that are needed to hold the drive shaft in place, allowing for the power from the motor of the dozer to arrive at its destination in the front and back tires. Travis is happy to present these bolts to Buzz, and they immediately get to planning their next moves. Working together, they head over to the rock truck, and Buzz pulls apart the drive shaft, and they quickly replace the broken bolts with the new ones Travis has collected. The rock truck's engine gives power to the rear wheels, but the problem is that they have found that half the bolts have shattered somewhere along the way. The drive shaft is now totally out of alignment and unable to feed energy to the tires, meaning that the rock truck cannot move even an inch in this condition. Even if moving the truck was an option, it would be unwise to do so, as it would only damage the delicate drive shaft further, denying them the chance to fix it and keep working. As Buzz and Travis work under the rock truck, they identify that one of the bolts they used as a replacement is not the right style and that it went into the wrong hole. This realization has forced them to replace the new bolts all over again before they damage the inside of the drive shaft. The incorrect bolt has already cut the threading inside the drive shaft.
It looks like now we've got one that's wrong bolt in the wrong hole,
So Buzz has to re-thread the hole so they can replace the bolt with a factory-approved piece. This setback has Buzz clearly upset because this has been a careless and amateurish mistake. His bad mood does not stop them from fixing the drive shaft, even if it takes longer than planned. As Buzz climbs back into the rock truck, he tests the engine once more. Everyone relieved when the rock truck seems to be moving even smoother than before. Rick Ness sees Buzz heading his way inside the old rock truck and is glad to see that they are getting back to their schedules. It becomes apparent that he was aware there was an issue while he was busy at work. However, when Buzz and Rick greet each other, Rick says he doesn't even want to know what was wrong with the rock truck in the first place, since he is just relieved Buzz appeared in time to fix the issue and help out. Buzz jumps right to work as Rick finishes the last of his stockpile. With the rock truck running smoothly again, Buzz will start hauling pay dirt and helping Rick reach his gold ounce goals for the season. Back in Rick's own dozer, he can be heard giving Buzz his flowers and expressing how happy he is with how the situation was handled by Buzz. Rick is particularly impressed by Buzz's ability to problem solve and get back to work so quickly. His achievement of both transporting and fixing this old equipment, as well as his ability to think ahead, convinces Rick that Buzz is the kind of guy he wants around. The Ness crew is back at camp after Buzz fixed the old rock truck, and Rick has begun to work on the second stockpile. He has been able to keep the plant running the whole week. They all relax with some drinks, and Rick tells Buzz that coming from Fred, he did not have much hope. He also comments how much he appreciates all Buzz has done, since he was able to get that old truck running for them against all odds.
There is pressure here. There's no doubt about that, especially just being two of us. But for the amount of work that had to be done, Z and I made quick work of it and got this plant fired up. And
he hopes they will be able to see some gold come out of those efforts. Rick explains that while he does not know everything that went on over in Fred's camp, he does know that they were not having a lot of luck gold mining out there. Rick then asks Buzz what he would think of coming over to his crew. Buzz is extremely moved and sounds choked up when he laughs and says that it would be like leaving hell behind and to having so much more with Rick's team. He explains what he means with his next statement, claiming that in all his time working for Fred, he has barely made enough money to cover his personal expenses. With that emotional offer out of the way, the Ness crew gets back to business and weighs out the gold they have managed to squeeze out of the inhospitable land. To cover all his costs, Rick Ness needs at least 20 ounces of gold a week. As they measure out the gold, they arrive at a final weight of 23.8 ounces of gold, which equals a total of $46,000, bringing them a few ounces over their needed weight. They are delighted by the final weight, and Buzz mentions this may be his biggest haul of his life, commenting how it's well over the biggest haul Fred's crew ever managed to achieve. Rick sees this as a great start for them and assures Buzz that they have only just begun. He quickly calculates that altogether they have brought in around 65.2 gold ounces so far this week. Rick expresses that he is very happy with what they have achieved this week, and that all he needs is to keep bringing in more gold to put into the bank. He elaborates on his future plans, telling the crew that he intends to hire more crew and get more machines to cover more ground and acquire more gold. He explains that with the crew's help, he sees this dream being within reach.
Yeah, look at that nugget right there.
Oh, buddy.
It looked really good.
As Rick stands, he tells the crew he wants to make Buzz's entrance into the team official. He hands over some dark t-shirts to Buzz with the crew's name on it, officially marking him as a new member. Thank you for watching until the end. Make sure to comment down below what you think of Rick's $46,000 gold haul and what your favorite part was. If you would like to keep up with this kind of content, make sure to subscribe and turn notifications on.
You're acting like a toddler, Rick. You are making an enemy out of me. It's not what I intended.
Parker, man.
Yeah, I'm going out mining on my own. I've got an opportunity, and I am going to take it.
Jeez.
The cast of Gold Rush are old associates all these years later with a lot of shared history together. However, from among the stars of the show, none have as long a history and friendship as Parker Schnabel and Rick Ness. So, when things got difficult for Rick Ness recently, he knew exactly who to turn to for help.
But it's not, it's not the answer for the season. I need something I can rely on. So I want to see Parker right now. I heard he just bought a whole nother mine. Now it's been a few years. I really don't know what to expect here.
None other than his old boss and good friend, gold mining wunderkind, Parker Schnabel. Team Ness is hard at work, but it becomes apparent that Rick requires more crew members if he wants to hit all of his goals for the season. No one else is coming in, adding a lot of pressure to Morgan Lauren, a new member of the team. Another issue that is adding to the pressure is the shabby state of the equipment. Morgan points out that the work would be completed much faster if they were able to bring in some newer equipment. While she concedes that the old rented loader does run and gets the task done, she hesitates to call it efficient or even fully functional. As she explains the issues with the loader, she reveals that it's missing its front cab. This means that she has been eating a ton of dirt, and the massive, powerful tires have been kicking up a storm of sand and dirt into her face the whole time. This issue sounds mostly humorous until one imagines the danger of consuming that much dirt, not to mention the damage caused to the loader by having a ton of dirt getting into the cab and the controls. As Rick and Morgan work, they make a greater dent in the pile of dirt. However, even with their speed and dedication, soon something goes wrong. Morgan exits her loader in concern and notices that something is very wrong with her vehicle. She quickly exits the loader and hurries over to the loader's side, observing that the machine is leaning over in a very precarious manner. After a quick look, she determines that the leaning is being caused by a flat tire. She pulls out her walkie-talkie and contacts Rick, informing him of her need to shut down the plant because of her loader's flat tire. Rick quickly goes over to the wash plant and stops all activity.
Rick brought down the 750 for me, and we threw the 330 up there to do tailings. As long as we can keep this gold rolling up to the plant, that's the only thing that matters.
This is to save money and energy from a machine that can cost him a ton of money if it is not actively separating gold from dirt at all times. Rick is upset and decides that he needs to do whatever it takes to remedy this problem. Finding a replacement loader or a new tire is his first thought. He drives away in his truck, musing over where he has an old loader stored for such an occasion. However, after some consideration, he decides that the loader he has is not going to be the answer to this current problem, since he needs something he can rely on, not to break down. This is where Rick explains that he heard his old boss, Parker Schnabel, just bought an entirely new mine, and it came with a ton of equipment with it. The hope Rick has is that the equipment will have a spare motor somewhere that he can use. While he is hopeful that Parker will be able to solve his problem, he is nervous to speak to him as it has been a couple of years since they had any real conversation.
How you been, bud?
Good, how are you?
Good to see you, man.
Good to see you too. So you're back.
I'm back.
How are you feeling?
I feel great.
Good.
Yeah.
Rick doesn't know what to expect, but thinks that they'll be able to make a deal. Parker and Rick have a history as deep as any mining operation, having met when Parker hired Rick when he was 17 years old and just starting his career in the gold mining industry. At the time, Parker wasn't the big shot buying multiple million-dollar mines. He had just a small gold claim to his name. However, these early days are critical to the man he would become, and Rick was a crucial component to his success. Rick and Parker worked together and created a deep bond as they rose in experience and achievement those first few years. Rick Ness eventually became Parker's foreman, but not everything was smooth sailing. When their relationship started to get rocky, they said things to each other they couldn't take back. This was a huge turning point for Rick Ness, because he decided that what he really wanted was to strike out on his own. Rick informed Parker that he had received a great opportunity to be his own boss, and he was going to take it, quitting his position as foreman for Parker's crew. It was a difficult parting, and since then, they haven't spoken face to face until today. Rick expresses his excitement to see his old friend again and hopes that Parker will feel the same.
Can you believe that?
How much does that weigh?
That one is 1.54 ounces.
Oh my Lord.
Yeah, wow.
There is also the issue of Rick's break from gold mining last year, which he is sure Parker already knows about. He wonders if those rumors will change the reception he gets from his old boss. Parker comes down from his loader and immediately makes a joke as he greets Rick. Rick picks up the joke and they share a big laugh, breaking the tension immediately. It feels as though no time has passed at all as they hug. Parker immediately asks how Rick is feeling now that he's back, showing his concern for his health. In a kind move, Parker tells him that he has always had faith that he would survive the hard times and come right back to the business when he was ready. Rick is vulnerable as he admits that he has struggled recently and that looking back, he thinks his best years were with Parker, as he was more productive back then. Parker admits that when he first started as a gold miner with his own claim, he had no idea what he was doing. They bond over how lost they had been at the beginning and how their golden years were spent together. Rick admits that he learned a lot from his time with Parker and that he feels like he's reclaiming some of that youthful energy they had back then, now that he is back and ready to work. Finally, after their sentimental reunion, Parker asks whether Rick has made his way over to catch up or if there is something he needs. Rick immediately admits that of course, he comes all this way because he needs something and prepares to ask for this big favor. Rick tells him that he needs a loader, and Parker immediately tells him that his team inherited a ton of equipment and guides him over to his truck to take a look at all the equipment. When Parker Schnabel bought the Dominion Creek claim, he also purchased everything that was on it. So any tools and machines left behind were included in the purchase.
Okay, sounds good.
We're gonna put Brennan on that end with the 750. I'm gonna keep chewing away down here with the 480, but I got a feeling he's gonna be catching on me pretty fast.
Parker admits that after buying it, he has not even inspected or cataloged everything that came with it. However, the purchase did include $2 million worth of equipment. Rick hops onto the loader on Dominion Creek and starts it up to test its functionality. The sound of the motor passes their quick inspection, and Rick tries to cut a deal right away for the use of the loader. Parker tells him that there will be no deal. Instead, he tells Rick that he hates talking about money, but he especially hates it when it comes to friends. He tells Rick that he can use it, no deal or money exchange is needed. He instead tells him that they can just work it out in the fall. He elaborates that if Rick hits the mother lode, then he will expect a few ounces of gold as rent, but otherwise they're all good. What Parker says is that if the loader helps him, he's happy to lend it. What he truly wants is for Rick to get back on his feet. This is a very humbling moment for Rick, as he realizes that Parker is a true friend to him, even after all their differences. Parker admits that it is a small gesture, but that he hopes it's better than denying him and not mending bridges out of pettiness. Rick is very thankful to him, and Parker suggests that he comes to pick up the loader when the roads clear up a bit. The difficulty of moving the loader may even necessitate bringing a trailer out to move it, but no one is willing to haul such heavy equipment at this time in the season. The problem of transporting the loader over to Rick's claim is overshadowed by the emotional reunion between the two old friends. When Parker is finally alone, he admits that he was surprised to see Rick again, since they have a lot of unspoken history between them. One thing that he is ruminating over is how Rick mentioned that he gave Parker his best years. To Parker, that sounds like crazy talk, because in his mind, Rick Ness has not even reached his best years in the gold mining industry yet. In Parker's eyes, Rick is still very young, only 42 years old. But he understands that perhaps mentally and emotionally the past few years,
we got to keep the ball rolling, so whatever we got to do, right?
Yeah. The reward there is hopefully 30 feet of pay underneath that, right? And good stuff.
have taken a heavy toll on his old friend. He wishes that things would get better for Rick, and that his small favor will be a step in that direction. Thank you so much for watching this video until the end. Make sure to like and subscribe, and don't forget to turn on notifications for the latest, most interesting Gold Rush content. Leave a comment down below and let us know what your favorite part was and what kind of content you'd like to see on the channel next.